यमुना तीर वनचारी प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद श्रील प्रभुपाद की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय O my Lord, all pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam kato jayam udirayet. Reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Naranarayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasdev, the author. Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatir uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in class on Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances unto him. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhobhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna. Thank you for attending the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we're reading from Canto 7, Chapter 15. We're reading texts 30 through 40, and we will deep dive on verse 36. So, Prabhu, if you start reading the translations. 30, yeah. Thank you.
One who desires to conquer the mind must leave the company of his family and live in a solitary place, free from contaminated association. To maintain the body and soul together, he should beg as much as he needs for the bare necessities of life.
My dear King, in a sacred and holy place of pilgrimage, one should select the place in which to perform yoga. The place must be level and not too high or low. There one should sit very comfortably, being steady in every poise, keeping his body straight, and thus begin chanting the Vedic pranam.
While continuously staring at the tip of the nose, a learned yogi practices the breathing exercises through the technical means known as Purak, Kumbhak and Richak, controlling inhalation and exhalation and then stopping them both. In this way, the yogi restricts his mind from material attachments and gives up all mental desires. As soon as the mind, being defeated by lusty desires, drifts towards feelings of sense gratification, the yogi should immediately bring it back and arrest it within the core of his heart.
When the yogi regularly practices in this way, in a short time his heart becomes fixed and free from disturbance, like a fire without flames or smoke.
When one's consciousness is uncontaminated by material lusty desires, it becomes calm and peaceful in all activities, before one is situated in eternal blissful life.
Do you want to read?
Once situated on that platform, one does not return to materialistic activities.
You can.
One who accepts the sannyasa order gives up the three principles of materialistic activities in which one indulges in the field of household life, namely religion, economic development, and sense gratification. One who first accepts sannyasa but then returns to such materialistic activities is to be called a vantashi, or one who eats his own vomit. He is indeed a shameless person.
Sannyasis who first consider that the body is subject to death when it will be transformed to stool, worms and ashes, but who again give importance to the body and glorify it as the self, are to be considered the greatest rascals.
It is abnormal for a person living in the Grihastha ashram to give up the regulative principles. For a brahmachari not to follow the brahmachari vows while living under the care of the guru. For a vanaprastha to live in a village and engage in so-called social activities, or for the sannyasi to be addicted to sense gratification. One who acts in this way is to be considered the lower legend. Such a pretender is bewildered by the external energy of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one should either reject him from any position or taking compassion upon him, teaching him if possible to resume him virginal position.
The human form of body is meant for understanding the self and the supreme self, the supreme personality of Godhead, both of whom are transcendentally situated. If both of them can be understood when one is purified by advanced knowledge, for what reason and for whom does a foolish, greedy person maintain the body for sense gratification?
Okay, enjoy. Thank you so much, Prabhus. So, when you were growing up in school or whenever at home, has there ever been a time when your parents or your teachers have told you you've done something and they're not really happy with you and they've said, act your age? Has it ever happened to you? Act your age. Act according to your age. Don't act like a small child. Has it ever happened? Almost all of us, right? We do something silly and then we get scolded. Hey, you're not supposed to be doing that. That's what kids do, or that's what, other people do. You should do what aligns with your age or what aligns with your position. And that is exactly the theme of today's class. Do what you're supposed to do. Okay, with that, we will do a deep dive on text 36. So, please repeat after me. Yah pravrajagrahat purvam trivargavapanat puna yadi seveta tan bhikshu savaivantasya apatratpa. So you can do one line each.
Yah pravrajagrahat purvam.
Yah pravrajagrahat purvam trivargava punat punah
Yadi seveta
tan bhikshu
Savaivantasya apatrapa.
Yah pravraja grihat purvam.
Yah pravrajagrahat purvam trivargava panat punah
Yadi sevate bhikshu
Savaivantasya patrapa.
Yah pravajya grahat purvam.
Yadi seveta tan bhikshu savaivantasya patraha
Yah pravrajagrahat purvam
trivargavapanat punah
Yadi sevete tan bhikshu.
Yadi sevete tan bhikshu.
Save Vantasya Patrapa.
Save Vantasya Patrapa.
Okay, we can read the synonyms together. Ya, one who. Pravraja, being finished for good and leaving for the forest, being situated in transcendental bliss. Grihat, from home. Purvam, at first. Trivargya, the three principles of religion, economic development and sense gratification. Avapnat, from the field in which they are sown. Puna, again. Yadi, if. Seveta, should accept. Tan, materialistic activities. Bhikshu, a person who has accepted the sannyas order. Sa, that person. Why, indeed. Vanta asi, one who owns his own woman. Apatrapa, shame. One who accepts the sannyas order gives up the three principles of materialistic activities in which one indulges in the field of household life, namely religion, economic development, and sense gratification. One who accepts sannyas but then returns to such materialistic activities is to be called a vantasi, or one who eats his own vomit. He is indeed a shameless person. Anyone wants to read the purport here? Yes, Prabhu.
Materialistic activities are regulated by the institution of Varnashrama Dharma. Without Varnashrama Dharma, materialistic activities constitute animal life. Yet even in human life, while observing the principles of Varna and Ashrama, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa, one must ultimately accept Sannyasa, the renounced order. For only by the renounced order can one be situated in Brahma Sukha, or transcendental bliss.
Thank you, Prabhu. Who else wanted to read? Yes, go ahead.
In Brahma Sukha, one is no longer attracted by lusty desires. Indeed, when one is no longer disturbed, especially by lusty desires for sexual indulgence, he is fit to become a sannyasi.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes.
Otherwise, one should not accept the sannyas order. If one accepts sannyas order at a mature stage, there's every possibility of his being attracted by women and lusty desires, and thus again becoming a so-called grihastha, a victim of woman.
Thank you. Yes, Prabhu.
Such a person is most shameless and he is called Vantasi, or one who eats that which has already been vomited.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
He certainly leads a condemned life. In a Krishna consciousness movement, it is advised, therefore, that the sannyasis and brahmacharis keep strictly aloof from the association of women, so that there will be no chance of their falling down again as victims of fleshly desires.
Jai. So, what is the theme of today's class again?
Be at your age.
Do what you're supposed to do. But yeah, that's a good example. And I think with the same theme, do what you're supposed to do, Maharaj also conducted a Sunday feast lecture a couple months ago. So maybe it's like going to be a repeat, and I'm not able to do as good a job definitely, but we'll try to take some of those examples as well. Okay, so do what you're supposed to do. We'll break this statement into two parts. First is do, and second, what you're supposed to do. But we'll focus on the second part first, then we will be able to better connect the first part. So do what you're supposed to do. Okay, what are we supposed to do? Go ahead.
Depending on our ashrama system.
Oh, yes.
Follow the regulative principles.
For grihasthas, follow the regulative principles. Okay. What else? Any additional points? What are we supposed to do? This is exactly what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to hear about Krishna, right? Because hearing purifies our heart. But what you're supposed to do is called dharma. Dharma does not really mean religion, right? Hindu, Christian, Muslim. That's not dharma. Dharma means what is our occupational duty, right? What is our eternal duty towards Krishna? And there is only one eternal duty towards Krishna, that we have to love him without expecting anything or without interruption. Savai pumsa paro dharmo yatho bhaktir adhokshaje ahaituki apratihata. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd chapter, you will see this is the very first question which is answered in Naimisharanya by Shuta Goswami. Sages headed by Shaunakrishi are asking, what is it that we are supposed to do? And then Shuta Goswami, a very learned master, just says that the only thing that we are eternally supposed to do is to love Krishna. But how to love Krishna? he mentions two words here, ahetuki, without any motive, and apratihata, without any interruption. It's not that I'm going to love Krishna Monday to Friday EOD, weekend I don't care. Again, Monday I'll be back to loving Krishna. No, not like that. Every minute, every second, we have to think of Krishna. That is exactly what we're supposed to do. It doesn't matter which stage of life you're in. Our occupational duty is to always, always love Krishna. Because that's the nature of our soul, is to love, is to eternally love. And when that love doesn't manifest towards Krishna, it goes into wrong things. It becomes lust. And then we start loving all the material things in mode of passion. So exactly what we're supposed to do is to love Krishna. Now let's take a step back and talk a little bit more about this varnashram system, because now more often than not we find the society divided because of that, right? But that was never the aim. Varna, ashram, these are two main things to consider. Varna is your duties that you do, right? Which is, or maybe four categories. And what are those four categories?
Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya,
And Shudra. And that was the Varna part. Now what is there in the ashram part? There are 4 stages in life, starting with Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasi. Okay, can we have anyone talk about any one stage that you're comfortable talking about? So what is the duty in the Brahmacharya stage of life when you're a Brahmachari?
to be acquiring the knowledge of Shastras, as well as you have to know, you need to know what's your purpose.
Correct. So what used to happen is, in the old period, in Vedas we'll find, or even in Srimad Bhagavatam, there was a Gurukul system. The students would go to their guru's place and they would render some service, and in exchange they would receive some transcendental knowledge. And it was not just mundane knowledge, right, that we received in our school days. It was transcendental. It was about Krishna. It was about how we can go back to Krishna. And in exchange they would do some service for their spiritual master. So that stage of life, Brahmachari, is where you can acquire as much knowledge as you can, because you don't have any other duties at that point. And when you acquire that knowledge, gradually also may choose to get into the next stage of life, which is Grihastha ashram. You prepare yourself to get into Grihastha. Because if you're a good Brahmachari, you'll be a good Grihastha. You'll understand what needs to be done. So what do we do in Grihastha stage? Anyone here?
We provide.
You provide for family. Yeah.
Family and other classes of...
Other class. That's a very good, important point. What happens is, mostly by Grihastha we mean I'll take care of my kids and my wife and that's it. No, that's not it. We have a duty to render towards everyone else, because we have that chance to balance spirituality and material life. Correct. And yes, Prabhu, you had any additional point?
Yeah, it's like whoever comes to home, we should like always have some food for them.
Correct.
And as well as we should have food for like the other living entities like birds and other small living entities which comes home regularly.
Absolutely.
And we need to honor all the sadhus who is visiting us, and we need to give some of our income for the charitable activities, and who is helping like sannyasis or like temples or anything.
Great point, Prabhu. Actually, if you look at the word Grihastha, you can break that into two words. Griha and Astha means one who lives inside the house, householder life. So you have a family. It's not that everybody will, just remain a brahmachari and then become sannyasi. No. Most of them will get into Grihastha ashram, where they will provide for the family and the society and other classes, render some service, right? Give a contribution of their income towards welfare activities, spiritual activities. So that's a chance when you get to get some Lakshmi and spend it on good causes. That's your Grihastha ashram. Now we will talk about the next stage. What is the next stage? Vanaprastha ashram. Does anyone know what Vanaprastha ashram is? Do you want to talk about it? Anyone here? Yes, please.
So on Vanaprastha ashram, they should not have the close association with the partner. They should maintain some distance and like go far away from them and like start learning more spiritual activities and detachment.
Very true. So you used a very good point that you should not have excess attachment towards the partner at that time. So and actually in Vedas, the age for all of these ashrams is also outlined. For brahmachari, what is it? It's around 20, 25. And then you prepare to get into the grihastha, which is actually life on average, if you consider the span to be 100 years, you just divide that by 4. That's how you get to it. So 0 to 25 is your brahmachari stage, the stage of learning, right? 25 to 50, ideally grihastha. You start a family, start teaching your kids good values, start giving back to the society, all of that. Then at the age of 50, 51, through the age of maybe 70, 75, you are in the vanaprasthashram. So that means, actually, I like to see it as sort of mirror image of brahmachari, what you did in your brahmachari days. But here you have some responsibility. You cannot give up your partner altogether. You give up the unnecessary attachment. You give up all the material hankerings and all of that. Prepare yourself for pilgrimage. Prepare yourself for reading scriptures, and because you haven't had a chance for the past 25 years, right? So now is the chance as you prepare to renounce. And around 70, 75 is the last stage, which is sannyasi. So exactly, look at how beautifully everything was outlined by Vedas. Everything was so systematic. And over a period of time, it's all become jumbled up, right? So this is the ashram system. Varna system is what are your occupational duties? Like what are Brahmins supposed to do?
Providing knowledge.
To provide knowledge. And they function as the intelligence of the society, as the mentors of the society. They'll provide insights, and not random insights or material insights, based on shastra, based on scriptures. So that is their job. They are almost like spiritual masters of the whole society. They're supposed to give good teachings to the society, help society get closer to Krishna. And you can actually draw parallels. Even in the ashram system, this is what sannyasis are supposed to be doing. To propagate the names of the Lord, to give Krishna to everyone. That is what sannyasis are supposed to do. Right? They are like the spiritual master of rest of the other varnas. So you can look at it, so beautifully it has been designed. The second stage is kshatriya. What are kshatriyas supposed to do? Sorry? Administration and protection. So like all the warriors you will see, right? Arjun was a kshatriya. And I will come back to that point. There's a very particular reason why I said that. I'll come back to that point. But Arjun was a kshatriya, right? And Pandavas, basically, all of them, they were kshatriyas. They were trying to fight for their kingdom, rightly fight for their kingdom, which was their own. And they also do administrative duties. They make sure that the society has law and order. Otherwise, everything will be haphazard, right? There will be no order left. Then the third one is Vaishya. What are Vaishyas supposed to do? Correct. They're like trades, merchants, right? They do all business. They make sure that Lakshmi flows through the society and everybody contributes in some way, or there is some exchange that happens. So that's their department. And the last one is Shudra. So Shudra, what is their responsibility?
You support those 3 spirit classes.
Correct. They're like the ground level workers. They actually work. They work and get things done. Now it has become so diluted that when we say Kshudra, we think of somebody as, the lowest. But that's not the case actually. Even they're important. All this Varnashram system has some reason behind it. Every single thing. We discussed 8 divisions, 4 in Varna, 4 in Ashram. Every division has some role to play and to keep the society running cohesively. Just like in an organization, there are different departments. You can't really say one department is greater than the other, right? So for example, if you look at Apple, right? Apple company. So there are going to be technical folks who will actually come up with design and they'll design the phone. Then there will be marketing folks who will talk about it, right? Who will make it known in the outer communities. There will be operational people who will make sure that the manufacturing process goes on smoothly without any logistical challenges. And then there will be human resources who will make sure that people are doing the work that they're supposed to do. Now, does this make any one department greater than the other? No. Problem happens when we feel that a particular division of society has the right to dominate over the others. And that's what happened, unfortunately. In the age of Kali, the Brahmins started to dominate, but not in good way. They started trying to be the controllers, or they tried to restrict access of the other classes from getting that knowledge. And that is why we see it led to a lot of repercussions. But the actual intent behind this Varnashram system is very pure. Prabhupada says it is meant to be preparing us for the love of Godhead. If you want to receive Krishna's love, we don't want to be very unorganized about it. There's a systematic way to go about this, and Varnashram is that systematic way that is being referred to. In Chaitanya Charitamrit, Madhya Lila 4.111, in the purport you'll find this. That whatever a person may be, he might be a Brahmana, Sannyasi, Shudra or whatever, but if he knows the science of Krishna, he can become a guru. Prabhupada never said a certain person is only eligible to become a guru. Right? Even in the Nectar of Instruction, the first verse, if you see, that outlines the qualities of a real guru. And who is guru? Somebody who connects you to Krishna, right? So it does not matter what stage you are from. Like initially in the very old days, there was a system that only Brahmanas could be the spiritual master. But that's not the case anymore, especially because of Prabhupada's mercy. We can find anyone, regardless of whatever stage of life we are coming from. We can help others grow. We can give that spiritual knowledge. We can give Krishna consciousness to others. And that is being a true guru. So everything was well organized. When one section of society started dominating over the other, it led to a lot of challenges. Now here, there is a specific reference to one specific division from the ashram system. What are we talking about in this verse? Sannyas. So what does sannyas mean? Anyone? Yes, Prabhu? Renounced order. Renunciation. It means you give up something. What do you give up in sannyas?
Sense gratification.
Sense gratification.
Economic development.
Sorry?
Economic development.
Correct?
And religion.
Correct. So basically, there are supposed to be 4 Purusharthas as explained by Madhavendra Puri to Mahaprabhu. Sorry, Ishwar Puri. I'm confused now. Who is that? Madhavendra Puri. Yeah. No, Ishwar Puri. Apologies, but I think it was Ishwar Puri who was Mahaprabhu's spiritual master who explained that there are 4 Purusharthas. Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. When you're a Grihastha, there's these 4 things, or actually 3 things. The focus is on 3 things. Dharma, doing some religious activities. Like you said, Prabhu, giving some charity or offering food to a maybe sannyasi that visits the home, right? Artha, economic development. You cannot be a grihastha if you don't look after the economics of the house or the economic development, or you don't contribute to the society, right? As grihasthas, you have a responsibility to contribute externally to the society and also run the economics of your own house, right? It's a twofold responsibility. Kama, lust, right? Or sense gratification. More than lust, I would say it's more like sense gratification, which is regulated in the grihastha ashram of life. So when you are a grihastha, you are so sort of occupied with these activities that you don't really get a chance to grow much. But when you go to the next stage, which is vanaprasthashram and then sannyas, you are actually calling these 3 off and you start thinking more about or only about Krishna. That is the qualification of a true sannyasi. So people would ask Prabhupada, what does sannyas truly mean? It doesn't mean changing of clothes. It doesn't mean wearing a particular thing or carrying a particular danda or anything. Those are the external features. Internally, it means your heart is now 100% surrendered to Krishna. You have nothing else to worry about, right? In the good old days, sannyasis did not even have houses. They would just wander. They would be very happy with whatever food was provided to them by the householders. And they would not even stay at any householder's place for too long. They would just, and in exchange of that food or water, they would also impart some spiritual knowledge. That was the system. And then they would go elsewhere. Their job was to preach. This is exactly what a sannyasi is supposed to be doing. Now, sometimes what happens is, this verse is trying to tell us that if you don't adhere to your responsibilities, there could be some repercussions. That is why we need to be doing whatever stage of life we are in or whatever our responsibility is. So regardless of the stage, like I mentioned, loving Krishna is our param dharma. It's our eternal occupation. But in different stages of life, there are some responsibilities which keep changing. So as a sannyasi, if somebody develops love for material things, it's like you're taking a step back into Grihastha ashram. If you start loving, for example, comfort, right? If you want to be driven around in Rolls Royce as a sannyasi, it means somewhere not 100% surrendered to Krishna, right? It means there is still little bit of hankering left for material comforts, and the qualification to attain Krishna is there should be no hankering whatsoever for material activities. And that is what this verse is about. So I understand this verse gets a little bit heavy towards the last line. I could see some faces being made when it's like a man who eats his own, waste, basically. So the meaning that sometimes the scriptures can get a little bit heavy, but it's required. It's required to tell us the intensity of that particular aspect. So here the metaphor implies that he has refused or rejected something and moved on. So now he's going back to it. That is what is the meaning of this verse, right? Yes, Prabhu.
Like you ate something, you couldn't digest it.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. You couldn't digest something, or maybe you're done eating and you can't have any more. Something happened, and then it's like you again develop hankering towards it when you know that you've already moved away from that. You again go back to it. That is what we are trying to imply here. Right? So, meaning, if a sannyasi starts having anything except love for Krishna, that means there is some material hankering that needs to be taken care of. Now, I give the example of Rolls Royce, right? So that's very interesting because there was one instance when Prabhupada was visiting Australia and some news reporter challenged him. Swamiji, why do you use Rolls Royce to travel? Aren't you a sannyasi? Aren't you supposed to be a mendicant? So Prabhupada says, you know what was the response that Prabhupada gave?
Purifying lust.
Great one, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
If it's provided, why not to use it? Something like this?
Exactly. If anything is provided, anything so-called material is provided, if you can use it for Krishna's service, why not? The intent is important. Yes.
He also said we can walk. It's okay if
Yeah.
we don't need the Rolls Royce.
Yeah. He offered that. He said we can walk. But then again he said why walk when something has been provided? And that is an arrangement to propagate Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada never shied away from using those things so long. But he just had one caveat. It has to be used for Krishna, not for sense gratification. So many material things are around us. We cannot give up everything. Like this mic that we are using. We're not using this to sing Bollywood songs, right? Ideally we should not. But we're using it to talk about Krishna. So we're Krishnafying the mic, right? Meaning anything if can be put to use for Krishna's service we don't have to think about whether it is material or, but we should not get attached to it. Like for example, if somebody provides a comfortable facility for the sannyasi to stay, he can take that, he can make use of it, but he shouldn't get attached to it. He shouldn't expect that the next time. He should be also okay to sleep on a small mattress or maybe directly on the floor even or beneath a tree. Because all these things are immaterial. They will use what is provided to them, but in the process, the expectation is that they should not end up getting attached to it. Now, coming back to the point that I mentioned, Arjun was a Kshatriya, right? So, if you've seen the Bhagavad Gita in the first chapter, it's just Arjun talking. Krishna doesn't say anything. And why? Because at that point, Arjun is really lamenting that what am I about to do? I'm about to kill my own family. You know what? I don't want to do this war, Krishna. He casts aside his Gandiva bow and says, I don't want to fight. I shall not fight. And he sits down. Why is that happening? Because he's feeling that he's getting all that attachment towards everyone. He's saying, I don't care even if they want to kill me. I don't want to be the one killing them, right? All of these things. So he says, better than killing your own kinsmen, it's better to give up everything and go and live in a forest. Does Krishna agree to that?
No.
What does he say?
He says dharma to fight.
Sorry?
It's your dharma like religion to fight because you are a Kshatriya.
Correct. It's true.
How have these impurities come upon you?
How have these impurities come upon you? Imagine you are lamenting, you're pouring your heart out to a friend. He silently listens the whole time and this is the first thing he says. How have these impurities come upon you? While you are talking like a learned Brahmana, you're actually not making any sense. Right? And why would Krishna say that? Because he was not making sense. That's why Krishna is saying there is no time for any indirect talks or sugar coating. Krishna has to be direct. It's a conversation on a battlefield, right? He has to be very direct. He tells Arjuna, what are you thinking? Why are you thinking about all this? It is an impurity to not do what you're supposed to be doing. That's the best example. Yes, Prabhu.
Because Dhritarashtra, entire Mahabharata happened because of Dhritarashtra's attachment, blindness, and the same thing.
Attachment to
everything, his son and the
kingdom,
everything that was there. And the same thing was going to be repeated in a different way by Arjuna as well.
Correct. Very true, Prabhu. So one was done in so-called, because the material world is full of dualities. So something that Dhritarashtra and Kauravas did was on the bad side of things. Arjuna was about to mirror it from a good side of things first. But again, this good and bad is duality. The absolute truth is beyond that. Krishna is beyond all this duality, right? And that is what Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna. That don't think that these are your own kinsmen and all of that. This is a body. It's supposed to go. But in the discharge of duties, it is better if you lose your life as a warrior than become a renunciate, because that's not meant for you. Especially on the battlefield, it's not ideal. It's not befitting a Kshatriya to give up everything and go to a forest. No. And it's not, they lead not to higher planets but to infamy. So it tells, Krishna tells Arjuna that if you feel by not doing this war you'll get to higher planets, you'll get to heaven or whatever, Vaikuntha, that's not going to happen. On the contrary, it will be noted that you did not do your duty and your duty was to fight. Meaning the due discharge of duty should not be stopped in any stage of life, regardless of whatever division you belong to. You are supposed to do that duty. So for example, if we see that a company that goes through a lot of concerns, maybe they have some product related complaints or whatever, and people start losing their morale. The leadership should not lose their morale. They are the ones who can save the situation, right? They have to be very calm and composed, think through, they have to fight till the end. They have to come up with strategies to improvise that. Why? Because they are in that position where it's their responsibility to save the sinking ship. Ideally, it's everyone's responsibility, but they have particularly been in that spot. If that point they give up, it means it's not going to work out, right? So we should always be very cognizant of our responsibilities, of our duties, and always keeping Krishna at the center. We have to perform our duties we have to perform our activities as duties, basically, without being attached to what's going to come out of it. And that is true renunciation. Because Arjuna asks Krishna on multiple occasions, Krishna, what does renunciation mean? And the reason he's asking is very specific, because Krishna says what you're about to do is not renunciation. So now Arjuna wants to know, okay, then what exactly is renunciation? And Krishna answers that throughout Bhagavad Gita. If you see, it's scattered, but more of that is happening in 18th chapter, the perfection of renunciation. And in the initial 3-4 verses only you will find Krishna is telling Arjuna that discharging your duties, right, without being attached to the result and offering the result to Krishna, actually that is true renunciation. Those are the true renunciates who discharge their duties, who are not attached to not discharging, but they discharge their duties and they maintain the love of God. In performing the duties, they're thinking about Krishna. They're offering the fruits of they're offering the output to Krishna. That is renunciation. It's not just a change of clothes. It's not just running away and not fighting.
Running away from your karma, you cannot do your dharma.
Very true. He said a very beautiful point. Running away from your karma, you cannot do your dharma. You have to discharge your duties. And in doing so, remember Krishna. That is the perfection of renunciation. So now we heard about what we are supposed to be doing and what happens when we don't do that. So we will now try to take a step further and understand why this sort of fall down happens. It can happen to anyone, right? So any guesses on why maybe a sannyasi might suddenly start having some material desires, or anyone, maybe even we can have material lust or anything all of a sudden. Why? Yes, Prabhu.
You don't process the things, you just get influenced by something just to please someone or something, you suppress your desires.
Okay.
Suppression is so worse somewhere in your life. It's worse than depression as it is called, but somewhere in your life, it comes in the form of a regret, a lustful desire, and then you, whatever time you got, whatever tapasya you did, everything goes in vain, and you end up satisfying the desire.
On that note, I would just park one point. Whatever thing you did spiritually does not go in vain, because that remains. Next time you get a chance to start from there. But
the time goes, like,
yeah,
the time you
yeah.
cannot get back that time.
Time you can't get back, but whatever you've done, that is never lost. That's the beauty of spirituality. But your point is great, that you try not being true to yourself, right? You try to impress others, and you try to do things which you're not supposed to be doing.
Everything that you did, that's because of the
Correct. That is one of the reasons. Well, the reason why sannyasi or anybody can sort of fall down, I don't really like that word, but I was not able to find a better word for that. Or maybe I will say, maybe they don't want to discharge their duties anymore. It's because Krishna says, Mama Maya Durataya. Sorry? Go ahead, Prabhu.
Mind is always quickening.
No, this means the modes, yes,
modes of material nature are so strong
that they are difficult to overcome.
But I think so again, Prabhupada, Mataji asked, like, why is mind so strong? He gives the answer like, because you are not strong in your purpose.
There you go. Maya will continue to be strong. They say it's like if you're in a house and trying to avoid cold, right? Not even one hole should be there. That's enough for the cold wind to come in. Similarly, Maya is so strong in our consciousness, there should be no openings. There should be no, weak areas. Maya can immediately attack. That's why we have to be fully guarded against Maya 24/7. So Prabhu, great example, or great, you can say, point from Prabhupada about why Maya is so strong. It's because we are somewhere not discharging our duties properly. And there is just one eternal duty. Again, I keep repeating this because this is our duty, to love Krishna, right? To have loving devotional service towards Krishna. If we are not fulfilling that, it means we are subject to so many other material contaminations or impurities, right? So this is one of the reasons, because the modes of nature are very difficult to overcome. Let's look at it this way. In second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there's a very beautiful flow chart. If you can make a very beautiful flow chart from the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That attachment to sense objects transforms into lust. If unsatisfied, that results into wrath or anger, frustration. If that, again, like it just grows, right? It's like a weed which grows if you don't stop it in time. If that happens, it leads to bewilderment of memory and delusion. And basically, then it results in fall down. This is how it all comes in. This is why we have to tightly guard ourselves against the impurities from setting in. So, we all as souls, eternal souls, we all have love for Krishna. But if we don't work on making that love stronger, that love can take the form of lust in contact with material modes of nature. Materially, that love comes out as lust, but actually that love is for Krishna. We're just not putting it in the right place, right? So we have to carefully guard and not let the modes of material nature influence us. Otherwise, that will get converted to lust. So what happens is, when even for sannyasis, same verse I'll come to, the love for Krishna, maybe somewhere something is not correctly tightened up. That's why there is exposure to modes of nature and they're coming under the influence, and that's resulting in lust. And again, they're sort of taking a step back into doing all the grihastha activities, the three things that they had given up basically, which were kama, artha, and doing the religious activities. Basically, they said, okay, I'm done doing this, now I want to solely focus on Krishna. They're not able to do that, so that's why it's resulting in a step back. So, is that a problem if you fall down? That's the next very important thing, because we hear about fall downs all the time. Is it a problem?
It's a part. Feels like our senses are imperfect. We are very much conditioned. We have been trying our best. It's not like we're fully focused on sense gratification. The attention was in Krishna too.
Correct.
Maya was testing us as
Correct.
well. So many things, so much of pressure is there on the identity, wherever it goes. Somewhere,
That's a great point. Yeah. So you were loving Krishna, and that's not going to go anywhere. The record has been made of that, of how much you loved Krishna, and whatever little you did. Krishna is very kind. He knows that. But after that, there are certain things because of which something happened, and you didn't love him enough or whatever. He's not going to hold that against you, but you will have to sort of take care of that. And again, you can restart from where you left off in terms of loving Krishna. Like they say in Bhakti, if you leave at 100 score or 100 points, you don't start from 0 again, you start from 101. That's the beauty of spirituality. Prabhu, you had a point to make, I guess?
Yeah, you asked, forgot the question, but I remember the answer. It's a problem or not, it depends what you do with it, if you fall down.
Fall down is a problem or not, yeah.
It depends what you do with it.
Correct.
If you use it as an opportunity to get better, or just, I fall down, what to do?
One very great point, Prabhu. Yes, somebody was saying something.
I think it's like a child walking, trying to walk. That's what the Prabhupada gives. I mean, books there are exceptions about this. When child tries to walk, it falls again it stands up, again it falls down. And until it walks perfectly.
Until one day it works, yeah. It's going to take a lot of that falling down and standing up. So that standing up is the key there, yes.
I think even this regard something is given in the Shastras. I don't remember it clearly because I was hearing to Vijayabihari Prabhu's lecture that, and he says that fall down is a process, which are again given in these Shastras. But it's not that we need to just fall down, we just try it again.
Very true. That is very important. Fall down, and that's unfortunate that somebody fell down from what they were doing so perfectly. But that's fine. That's not the end of the world. You can always get up and restart with it. Yes, Prabhu, you were saying something.
I remember one story, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Swami Maharaj's disciple was sharing the story that he was in Brahmacharya ashram, and one day he broke one of the 4 relative principles. So he came running to his Maharaj, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Swami Maharaj, and he said, Maharaj, I had a fall down. Maharaj, I had a fall down. So Maharaj said, from where? You were already, so like it shattered his ego. Like, from where you fall down? You're already on the ground.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You're already on the ground.
Basically, we are making it complex about it.
Yeah, we're unnecessarily making it complex.
We should make a place for purity.
Correct. Purity is the force, right? Prabhupada always used to say. And it's okay. You have had purity, something happened, there was some impurities that set in, but whatever time you've been pure, that's not lost. You can always restart there. So, yes.
In Bhagavad Gita 9:30, Krishna also says that even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is fixed in his resolve and determination.
That's a great point, right? Because it might so happen that under the modes of nature are very strong. We have to be very determined so as to not be affected, and it's going to take some time and practice. But if you end up committing something abominable, again, whatever devotion they have expressed towards Krishna, their life, that doesn't go away. They're still to be considered saintly, and it's coming from Krishna himself. So who are we to judge, right? Which means there is a very high possibility it can happen with any of us here. Even Shiva and Brahma are not exempt from. If you see in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in the purpose it's clearly mentioned, where it says, Mama Maya Duratya, the modes are difficult to overcome. The Maya is very difficult to overcome, and even Shiva and Brahma can get affected. So who are we? But that doesn't mean we start doing whatever we want. It means let's not be very hard on ourselves or on others who by mistake fell down. That is very important to do. So Arjun actually asks Krishna that, hey Krishna, what if I'm not able to render my devotion in this life? Krishna says, well, not to worry. In 6th chapter 41 text, he says, unsuccessful yogi after many years of enjoyment is born in a family of righteous people or family of rich aristocracy. It means you'll still get a chance. You'll still get a chance and enjoyment where not here, but on the higher planet. So Krishna is actually making a very good provision, a very good arrangement. And in the 43rd verse it is said, Krishna says, on taking such a birth, you will be able to revive the divine consciousness of the previous life. So sometimes we see some young kids taking to bhakti, right? It's coming from somewhere. It means they left off at some point and they have a chance to complete. And That's why. So it's very important to understand that we really need to abide by our duty, which is Krishna consciousness, thinking of Krishna 24/7, thinking of him, worshipping him, paying obeisances unto him. Man mana bhavavat bhakto madhyaji ma namaskuru. Meditating on him, thinking of him, paying obeisances to him, worshipping him, becoming his devotee. And then he says it's guaranteed that he'll come back to me. Right? The only way to get back to Krishna is to love him. That's all we got to do. But it's very simple, but at the same time, there are a lot of responsibilities. Let's look at these stages of life as different, or maybe even these divisions, as different responsibilities instead of looking at who's inferior or superior. Everybody has a responsibility to perform. And in doing so, remembering Krishna is the true renunciation. So I'd like to end with one example from Prabhupada, right? Prabhupada was so merciful. There were times when certain young people were given sannyas, maybe even in their 20s. And unfortunately, at some stage, there was a fall down. And then others would ask Prabhupada, how do we process this, right? Because it's a serious thing. Prabhupada used to say one line, don't make it difficult for them to come back. There was one sannyasi that fell down. I mean, he married someone again and started having a grihastha life. And others were saying, oh, Prabhupada, this person married so and he just vanished. We tried reaching out, no contact. Prabhupada said, well, it's because you might have made it very difficult for him to come back. It doesn't matter if you're a sannyasi or grihastha. If becoming a grihastha, he can think about Krishna better, that's success. I don't care whether he was a sannyasi or not. And there was one sannyasi, again, another example, who was very sincere to Prabhupada in the beginning, but after Prabhupada's departure, there were certain ups and downs in the movement. So he left and he got married and had a wife. So after many, many years, that wife was not a devotee, okay? So somebody was doing book distribution, and this is from, I think, France. This is a story from France. So they happened to meet this wife. And she asked them, hey, are you those Hare Krishnas? They say yes. And then she asked, who is Prabhupada? And they told who Prabhupada is, a spiritual master and all of that. And they asked that lady, why did you ask this question? It's a very specific question, who is Prabhupada? She said, because my husband, who died many years ago, told me once that he was a disciple of Prabhupada. But unfortunately, at some point in life, he developed cancer or some serious disease which cannot be cured. And when he was in his deathbed, there was no one but just the wife and doctors in the ICU. And this person was in coma. One sudden moment, he wakes up out of his coma, says, Prabhupada, you came, and he passes away. What does that mean? He left Prabhupada due to some fall down, but Prabhupada did not leave him. And let's always remember that. Let's always be merciful towards other Vaishnavas, because no one is perfect. We're all trying to get there. Okay? Hare Krishna. Thank you. So, I'm not sure if we have time for any questions because we are at time. But do we have any questions or any thoughts?
We can take them to Prashad.
Yes, we can take it. Thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki